And then he's not just a business guy, he's really a technical guy. So let's listen to what he said.
Some ways we do have a kind of similar background where we're almost exactly the same age, and we had kind of similar programming backgrounds on the personal computers, and even some of the books that we would read and things that would kind of turn us into the people that we are today. And so, I mean, I first met Elon right at the start of the aerospace era, where I wasn't familiar with, I was still in my game dev bubble. I really wasn't familiar with all the startups that were going and being successful and what went on with PayPal and all of his different companies. But, I met him as I was starting to do Armadillo Aerospace, and he came down with kind of his right-hand propulsion guy, and we talked about rockets. And then in some ways, he was certainly the biggest player in the sort of alt space community that was going on in the early 2000s. He was the most well-funded, although, his funding in the larger scheme of things compared to like a NASA or something like that was really tiny. It was a lot more than I had at the time. But it was interesting. I had a point years later when I realized, okay, my financial resources at this point are basically what Elon's was when he went all in on SpaceX and Tesla. And I think in many corners, he does not get the respect that he should about being a wealthy person that could just retire. And he went all in, where he was really going to, he could have gone bust. And there's plenty of people, you look at the sad athletes or entertainers that had all the money in the world and blew it. He could have been the business case example of that. But the things that he was doing, space exploration, electrification of transportation, solar city type things, these are big world level things. And I have a great deal of admiration that he was willing to throw himself so completely into that, because in contrast with myself, I was doing Armadillo Aerospace with this tightly bounded, it was John's crazy money at the time that had a finite limit on it. It was never going to impact me or my family if it completely failed. And I was still hedging my bets working at id Software at the time when he had been really all in there. And I have a huge amount of respect for that. And people do not, the other thing I get irritated with is people that say, it's like, oh, Elon's just a business guy. He just got he was gifted the money and he's just kind of investing in all of this, when he was really deeply involved in a lot of the decisions. Not all of them were perfect, but he cared very much about engine material selection, propellant selection, and for years, he'd be kind of telling me, it's like, get off that hydrogen peroxide stuff. It's like, liquid oxygen is the only proper oxidizer for this. And and like the times that I've gone through the factories with him, we're talking very detailed things about like how this weld is made, how this subassembly goes together, what are like startup shutdown behaviors of the different things. So he is, really in there at a very detailed level. And I think that he is the best modern example now of someone that can effectively micromanage some decisions on things on both Tesla, and SpaceX to some degree, where he cares enough about it. I worry a lot that he's stretched too thin, that you get Boring Company and Neuralink and Twitter and all the other possible things there, where I know I've got limits on how much I can pay attention to, that I have to kind of box off different amounts of time. And I look back at my aerospace side of things, it's like, I did not go all in on that. I did not commit myself at a level that it would have taken to be successful there. And and it's kind of a weird thing, just like having a discussion with him. He's the richest man in the world right now, but right. He operates on a level that is still very much in my wheelhouse on a technical side of things.
Education background that Elon had. I think Elon did a bachelor's degree in economics and physics, I think. But yeah, I mean, it is very hard to find in history a person like Elon Musk, and his peers recognize it. He was, made a fellow of the Royal Society, the Royal Society is the oldest scientific and society in the world, society of physicists, scientists, mathematicians, engineers, and very few people become fellows. There are only 2,500 living fellows, and we go back to the likes of Newton and Bacon and some of the greatest of the greats. And so being lifted to that fellowship indicates just respected Elon is amongst his peers, and his peers of great physicists and great scientists. It's only people who don't have any clue at all that say, oh, he's not an engineer. Oh, he's not a physician. He's not a physicist. Oh, he's not a scientist. Not great engineers.
Right. Exactly.
And not great businessmen. When you take those three categories, you're going to find the vast majority in those three categories recognize his brilliance, each in their own discipline. Yeah. There are very few multidisciplinary people who combine all three. And those few that exist, for example, John Carmack, actually recognize him for all of the things he is, not just for the one dimension.
Let's go through the list here. I got Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Eric Schmidt. You know that Elon and Larry Page aren't exactly good friends anymore. Larry said Elon's one of the people who genuinely understands physics and applies it. Sergey says Elon is someone who thinks extremely deeply about hard technical problems. Eric Schmidt, Elon is extremely smart. He thinks about problems at a fundamental physics level. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. Elon has a deep understanding of engineering trade-offs. Jan LeCun, who used to be the AI chief at Meta, is a very smart guy, and I'm in awe of some of his projects. And they're fighting those two. Jeff Dean, even what is he, Waymo guy? Elon Musk is extremely capable technically. It's part of DeepMind, maybe. Andrew Ng. Elon is clearly very smart, technically capable, even when I disagree with him. Neil deGrasse Tyson. All these people, they actually had fights with Elon, right? But they still respect. Elon Musk understands engineering at a level that most CEOs do not. Chris Hadfield. Elon Musk is clearly very intelligent and serious about engineering. Of course, Andrej Karpathy, right? Elon has incredible ability to reason from first principles. Very rare. Tom Mueller, Jim Cantrell. I don't know these people. George Church, Backley. You can see where it goes. And you have, where am I going this way? Sal Khan, Mark Cuban, Naval Ravikant, all very, very good. So,
and that's my point. These are people who at the highest levels of achievement in their particular field, and they recognize Elon for what he is.